Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Bhagava Girivaradhari Gopijana Bhagava Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Randana Yashodanandana Brajajana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing with our reading from 9th Canto, Chapter 15, about Parasurama, the Lord's warrior incarnation. So we'll start with we'll chant verse 27, and we'll go all the way through till about 39. There's a purport in the middle of all that, so we'll read that also. Okay. Atarajani niryate Rama ashrama agataha Shrudva tat satashador atyam Shukro dahir ivahataha Acha Rajani niryate Rama ashrama agataha Shrutva tat tashador atmyam Shukro dahir ivahata Atta rajani niryate Rama ashrama agataha Shrutva tat tashador atmyam Shukro dahir ivahata Tata rajani niryate Rama ashrama agataha Shrutva tat tashador atmyam Shukro dahir ivahata Tata rajani niryate Rama ashrama agataha Shrutva tat tashador atmyam Shukro dahir ivahataha Atta rajani niryate Rama ashrama agataha Shrutva tat tashador atmyam Shukro dahir ivahataha Atta rajani niryate Rama ashrama agataha Shrutva tat tashador atmyam Shukro dahir ivahataha Atta rajani niryate Rama ashrama agataha Shrutva tat tashador atmyam Shukro dahir ivahataha Word for word synonyms. Atta, thereafter. Rajani, when the king, Niryate, had gone away. Ramaha, Parasurama, the youngest son of Jamadagni. Ashrame, in the cottage. Agataha, returned. Shrutva, when he heard. Tat, that. Tasha, of Kartavirya Arjuna. Doratmyam, nefarious act. Shukroda, became extremely angry. Ahi, a snake. Eva, like. Ahataha, trampled or injured. Thereafter, Kartavirya Arjuna, having left with the Kamadhenu, wish-fulfilling cow, Parasurama returned to the ashram. When Parasurama, the youngest son of Jamadagni, heard about Kartavirya Arjuna's nefarious deed, he became as angry as a trampled snake. So Kartavirya Arjuna, as we're reading here, he had stolen the cow, the special spiritual cow, and so that is why Parasurama is very angry here. So there's several verses without purports, so we'll just read the translations. Taking up his fierce chopper, his shield, his bow, and a quiver of arrows, Lord Parasurama, exceedingly angry, chased Kartavirya Arjuna, just as a lion chases an elephant. As King Kartavirya Arjuna entered his capital, Mahishmati Puri, he saw Lord Parasurama, the best of the Bhrigu dynasty, coming after him, holding a chopper, shield, bow, and arrows. Lord Parasurama was covered with a black deerskin, and his matted locks of hair appeared like sunshine. Upon seeing Parasurama, Kartavirya Arjuna immediately feared him and sent many elephants, chariots, horses, and infantry soldiers equipped with clubs, swords, arrows, ritis, shaktis, and many similar weapons to fight against him. Kartavirya Arjuna sent 17 full akshahinis of soldiers to check Parasurama, but Lord Parasurama alone killed all of them. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The word Akshahini refers to a military phalanx consisting of 21,870 chariots and elephants. That many chariots and that many elephants. 109,350 infantry soldiers and 65,610 horses. An exact description is given in the Mahabharata, Adi Parva, 2nd chapter, as follows. So let's chant through the Sanskrit here, and then there's a translation. Eko rato gajaschaita nara pancha patan ayaha prayascha duragas tajyai Patir ityabhiviyate Patintu Sri Gunam Etan Vidu Sena Mukhan Buddha Shri Sena Mukhan Yeko Uma Ityadi Diyate Vayo Uma Dano Nama Vahini tu Kanastrayaha Sukrastiriyas tu Vahinya Vitaneti Vichakshayaha Tamas tu Vitanas Tirash Sangvas Tirya Sangvas Tiras Manikini Anikinyan Asat Gunan Ahur Aksho Hinam Buddha Aksho Hinyastu Samkhyata Vatanyam Vija Satamaha Samkhya Ganita Tatvakyaye Sahasramnika Vinashaha Satyanupari Chashtoja Bhuyastata Saptati Kajanam Tu Harimanam Evatma Tavad Evatra Nirdishte Gayam Shatta Sahasram Tu Sahasrani Katanava Nara Adi Pancha Chak Kato Shri Chanagaha Panchashastri Sahasrani Tattaswanam Shikanicha Dashotarani Satcharu Sahur Pitavad Abhi Sampayaha Ekam Aksho Hitani Prabhu Sankhya Tato Vidojanaha. So here, that was all of this description of what an Akshahini is. Now we'll read in English. So the translation is, one chariot, one elephant, 5 infantry soldiers, and 3 horses are called a patti by those who are learned in the science. The wise also know that Sena Mukha is 3 times what a patti is. Three Sena Mukhas are known as one Gulma. 3 Gulmas are called a Gana, and 3 Ganas are called Vahini. Three Vahinis have been referred to by the learned as a Tana. 3 Patinas equal 1 Chamu, and 3 Chamus equal 1 Anitini. The wise refer to 10 Akinis as one Akshahini. The chariots of the Akshahini have been calculated at 21,870 by those who know the science of such calculations, O best of the twice-born, and the number of elephants is the same. The number of infantry soldiers is 109,350, and the number of horses is 65,610. This is called an Akshahini. I think I'm going to read the rest of the verses up until before the next purport, and then we'll try to speak a little something. So verse 31. Lord Parasurama, being expert in killing the military strength of the enemy, worked with the speed of the mind and the wind, slicing his enemies with his chopper, Parasurama. Wherever he went, the enemies fell, their legs, arms, and shoulders being severed, the chariot drivers killed, and their carriers, the elephants and horses, all annihilated. And another short purport here. In the beginning, when the army of the enemy was full of fighting soldiers, elephants, and horses, Lord Parasurama proceeded into the midst at the speed of the mind to kill them. When somewhat tired, he slowed down to the speed of wind and continued to kill the enemies vigorously. The speed of mind is greater than the speed of wind. Here is it then. And there's a couple more verses, and then we'll speak something. Verse 32. By manipulating his axe and arrows, Lord Parasurama cut to pieces the shields, flags, bows, and bodies of Kartavirya Arjuna's soldiers, who fell on the battlefield, muddying the ground with their blood. Seeing these reverses, Kartavirya Arjuna, infuriated, rushed to the battlefield. Then Kartavirya Arjuna, with his 1,000 arms, simultaneously fixed arrows on 500 bows to kill Lord Parasurama. But Lord Parasurama, the best of fighters, released enough arrows with only one bow to cut to pieces immediately all the arrows and bows in the hands of Kartavirya Arjuna. Imagine being there, seeing this fight. When his arrows were cut to pieces, Kartavirya Arjuna uprooted many trees and hills with his own hands, and again rushed strongly toward Lord Parasurama to kill him. But Parasurama then used his axe with great force to cut off Kartavirya Arjuna's arms, just as one might lop off the hoods of a serpent. Thereafter, Parasurama cut off like a mountain peak the head of Kartavirya Arjuna, who had lost his arms. When Kartavirya Arjuna's 10,000 sons saw their father killed, they all fled in fear. Then Parasurama, having killed the enemy, released the Kamadhenu, which had undergone great suffering, and brought it back with its calf to his residence, where he gave it to his father, Jamadagni. Parasurama described to his father and brothers his activities in killing Kartavirya Arjuna. Upon hearing of these deeds, Jamadagni spoke to his son as follows. O great hero, my dear son Parasurama, you have unnecessarily killed the king, who was supposed to be the embodiment of all the demigods. Thus you have committed a sin. My dear son, we are all brahmanas and have become worshipable for the people in general because of our quality of forgiveness. It is because of this quality that Lord Brahma, the supreme spiritual master of the universe, has achieved his post. You read it? 40. The duty of a Brahmana is to culture the quality of forgiveness, which is illuminating like the sun. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is pleased with those who are forgiving. Okay, let's just read the purport for this one. There's only one more verse after this. Purport, Srila Prabhupada's purport. Different personalities become beautiful by possessing good qualities. Chanakya Pandit says that the cuckoo bird, although very black, is beautiful because of its sweet voice. Similarly, a woman becomes beautiful by her chastity and faithfulness to her husband, and an ugly person becomes beautiful when he becomes a learned scholar. In the same way, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras become beautiful by their qualities. Brahmanas are beautiful when they are forgiving, Kshatriyas when they are heroic and never retreat from fighting, Vaishyas when they enrich cultural activities and protect cows, and Shudras when they are faithful in the discharge of duties pleasing to their masters. Thus everyone becomes beautiful by his special qualities. The special quality of the Brahmana is described here. The special quality of the Brahmana, as described here, is forgiveness. And this is actually the last verse of the chapter. We'll just read it. My dear son, killing a king who is an emperor is more severely sinful than killing a Brahmana. But now, if you become Krishna conscious and worship the holy places, you can atone for this great sin. Purport, Srila Prabhupada. One who fully surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is freed from all sins. Aham twang sarva papebhyo mokshaye shami. From the very day or moment he fully surrenders to Sri Krishna, even the most sinful person is freed. Nonetheless, as an example, Jamadagni advised his son Parasurama to worship the holy places. Because an ordinary person cannot immediately surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is advised to go from one holy place to another, to find saintly persons, and thus gradually become released from the sinful reactions. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 9th Canto, 15th chapter of the Srimad-bhagavatam, entitled Parasurama, the Lord's Warrior Incarnation. So Parasurama, his father, Jamadagni is Brahmana. He's a nice Brahmana. And due to some situation we read about previously, one of his sons, who happened to be Parasurama, he was not born with the qualities, Brahminical qualities. His tendency was Kshatriya. And this all happened because when one saintly person performed proper ceremony and gave some kind of prasadam stuff that came from the uh, sacrifice. We gave one portion to one person who was supposed to, the lady was supposed to become to rabbinical tendency. She was supposed to have a Brahmana type son, and the other portion was for Kshatriya, to have a Kshatriya son. But they decided to switch their portions, and and uh, and in the end, the Brahmana family ended up with a Kshatriya son, who happened to be Parasurama.
Parasurama появился Шатри, Сайтама, потому что во время отношения какую-то часть этого отношения появился период мука, всегда мука,
So Jamadagni, being Brahmana, he is feeling this is not good. My son, you're in a Brahmana family, and yet you're going out and you killed the king, you killed the emperor. He told Parasurama, you committed a very great sin. You need to atone for that sin. But the final advice that he gave, and of course Srila Prabhupada emphasized that in his purport, final advice is that one should you want to be freed from all kinds of sinful activities, sinful reactions, that we need to simply surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like we all come from whatever backgrounds we came from, and we've taken up the path of Krishna consciousness. We've all come from some, in most cases, probably a non-devotee background, at least I did. But we've taken up the path of Krishna consciousness.
Если мы посмотрим наше прошлое, то мы видим, что
and because of following the path of Krishna consciousness, whatever past sinful reactions we may have had, we've become free from those reactions. Like Srila Prabhupada said, at the time of the first initiation, the spiritual master removes the karma, or all of our past karma. So we may wonder, how is this possible that have maybe thousands of past lifetimes of karma accumulated, how is it possible to get rid of all that all at once, just simply by becoming initiated?
И можно подумать, что таким образом где-то там тысячи жизней, которые жили, там, накопилось огромное количество грехов, и каждая организация,
But the explanation is what Krishna says in the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamikam Churnam Hang Kwan Sarva Papabhyo Moksha Shami Vasukha. Give up all varieties of, it says give up all varieties of religion, which means like demigod worship and such things. Give up all that and simply engage in my devotional service. And if you do that, then you will become free from all kinds of sinful reactions. You think how can we think someone says you need to surrender to Krishna. How do you surrender to Krishna? Really, you surrender to Krishna by surrendering to his representative, the spiritual master. And initiation is not the end of the it's not the end of the process. It's in the beginning of the process. We become initiated, which means we commit. We make some commitment that I will give up all my sinful activities, and I will minimum of chanting my rounds, 16 rounds a day, and I'll give up all my sinful activities that I may have been doing before. So what we're actually doing is we are surrendering to Krishna through the spiritual master by committing to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. So it means we are committing to committing to follow the process of sadhana bhakti for purification, and of course we also giving up any of our past sinful activities. This is a surrender to the spiritual master. And the spiritual master, he's making some commitment to Krishna that my disciples they've promised to surrender to me to help them become Krishna conscious. So I'm making a commitment that I will make sure they become Krishna conscious. So basically the disciple is committing to follow the path of pure devotional service, and the spiritual master is, because he's committed to making sure within his power that his disciples will follow that path and will become fully Krishna conscious.
И продолжая выполнять инструкции духовной книги, да, ученик становится полностью
And by engaging in committing to that life of pure devotional service, then automatically, as Krishna promises, I'll remove all sinful reactions. It happens immediately when we commit to the path of Krishna consciousness.
И когда мы занимаемся этим служением, это становится постоянно,
But of course, if the disciple or many disciples don't keep their promise of chanting and following the regular principles and dedication to the path of Krishna consciousness, then they will start experiencing sinful reactions again, and the spiritual master, because he committed to Krishna, that I'll make sure they become Krishna conscious, he also gets some amount of that reaction, a little bit, of the disciples who are deviating.
И когда ученик отклоняется и следует наставлению духовного учителя, и успевает проявить свои чувства, тогда его духовный учитель частично не может получать эффекты духовных последствий,
So that is why it's very important, it's absolutely necessary that one becomes, that one accepts the direction and guidance of the bona fide spiritual master in order to become Krishna conscious. We cannot say, hey, I'm pretty smart, I'm just gonna become Krishna conscious on my own, I don't need anyone.
Поэтому мы должны следовать всегда оставаться в сознании Кришны и
Anyway, these are a couple of points here. Any questions, comments? Yes.
Sometimes it happens that the king becomes corrupted, like, for example, that was King Veda, so he was killed by the Brahmins, but for the sin, and also his
Как понять то, что какой-то происходит, царь не подобающие действия,
Yes, there were two different situations. First of all, Jamadagni was the one who was saying, Jamadagni was a nice Brahmana, and he was thinking, my son, who was supposed to be Brahmana, should have been more forgiving, and not. So he was thinking, my son Parasurama it was not good that he went and he killed this person. It would have been better just to be tolerant and forgiving. He's thinking in that term. But in the time of King Prithu and King Vena, well, before King Prithu actually, Vena, he was I mean, he was a really bad king, and I mean, and he was a completely irreligious king. In fact, he was so bad that he stopped. He demanded that the Brahmanas stop performing sacrifice for Vishnu. And when he stopped performing, when everyone stopped performing sacrifice for Vishnu, because that was the order of the king, then the earth, because the sacrifice was not being performed, the earth was not producing any food grains. You could plant seeds and like that, but nothing was growing, so people were starving. And the Brahmanas tried reasoning with the king. The Brahmanas were supposed to be advising the king. They tried reasoning with the king, Vena at that time. He didn't accept anything. So, and this was Sachi Yuga? I'm not sure which age this was in. Sachi. In any case, the Brahmanas saw that the whole world was going to be destroyed because of this king. So they were very powerful Brahmanas. So they simply cursed him to die because there's no. So they were not just so some king has offended us, so therefore we'll tolerate. And they were thinking more of the welfare of the entire world. The entire world means that the earth and the Bhumandala, which is much bigger than that. He became the emperor, and he was in charge of all that, and everything was being destroyed by by his bad activities, and he was not willing to change. So they for the benefit of the entire planet, they cursed him because they had to get him out of the way. And of course, that didn't really solve the problem completely, because now they had no king, they had no emperor, and of course they were the people who were thieves and criminals in the society. There's no one to chastise them, so crime started to increase a lot. The king Vena, although he was a very bad king, he was also bad to the criminals, the thieves and those. So everyone was afraid of him. So as soon as the king was gone, there's no one to stop them. So they went about what was their nature, which was stealing and criminal activities. But the same Brahmanas who cursed him, seeing that that was necessary, but it didn't completely solve the problem. Solve one problem, but it caused another problem. So they were able to fix the problem. So because the mother of Vena, after he had died, after he was cursed to die, his body was preserved in some oils to be preserved. So they took that body, and because Vena had translation.
И когда он умер, то его тело положили в маску.
Because Vena, in general, his whole family line was very good. He was like the bad one for some reason.
Но обычно семейную свою династию хорошую.
So they performed some process. So they said they were churning his body or churning his arms somehow, and they had a way of extracting any kind of sinful tendency that was in that body, and it took the form of some personality. What was his name? Nishada or something like that, right? But in any case, they extracted the sinful part of his body, out of that body, and then they performed more, and then King Kritu and Archie came manifested in that way. And
И когда родственники хорошие, они начали тело пахать, и при помощи этого пахания тела непонятно, извлекли выпадки греховную часть его личности, и осталась чистая часть, и с нее они пахали.
so in any case, the question was about these two different situations with Brahmins. This Brahmin is saying we should be very forgiving, and this other Brahmin is actually intentionally killed the king. So, but like I said, so in the case of Jamadagni, he was the one who was offended. They stole my cow. Not just a cow, a cow like a Sarabi cow. They stole my cow, but he was tolerating it. He was okay. He didn't fight it. That was his position. But the other Brahmanas in the time of King Prithu or King Vena, they were not personally offended. At least that wasn't the issue. Their real concern was the welfare of the people in general throughout the whole world, and their lives would be ruined because of what this king was doing. So they took that position it wasn't for personal. I will just forgive him and we'll go on. No, they were thinking about the welfare of the people in general, and that's why they acted in the way they did. Anyway, couple points. So I think.
What of this practice, which Shastra recommends this practice?
This journey. You say, where is it? Where is it? It's mentioned in the verse of Srimad-bhagavatam. I don't know where it's written. Srila said it was a process. If you knew how to do it, it could be done. We read the same thing about more recently. We just read. I don't remember. This is one of the last chapter, I think. But where exactly it's mentioned, I don't know.
Sometimes we can see, we can read.
We read it, yeah. The Kritu was one, and there's another one.
It means this process was
It was known. It was known to those qualified brahmanas, yes. But it's probably, even if we found that, it found some secret thing, and now we're going to perform it ourselves, it won't happen. We don't have qualifications to do these kind of things. But it was done. It was part of, it was something that the qualified brahmanas at that time could do. Not something that we can, we have the ability to do now. But for sure, all this knowledge is in the Vedas. The Vedas are like the, they say, like a desire tree. Anything you desire, material or spiritual, there's a method how to get it. So tomorrow we're not reading Srimad-bhagavatam. Tomorrow we'll be reading Nectar of Instruction, and I'm not sure who's giving class, but the idea was, I'm not sure. Govinda Prabhu said he wants on Sundays when we do Nectar of Instruction, he wants to have different devotees giving the class. And I'm giving class every day. Yeah. So we should know ahead of time or something. Yeah. Well, maybe Govinda Prabhu will be the first one. I'm not sure. He didn't tell me exactly. Yeah. This will be the first time. Maybe he'll be the first one to do it, and maybe decide then who the next week will be. I don't know exactly the process. In any case, tomorrow there'll be Nectar of Instruction, and someone else besides me will be sitting here. And then on Monday they would start the next chapter. Lord Parasurama destroys the world's ruling class.